Located in Jackson, Mark is licensed to practice law in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee. The Tennessee Supreme Court, the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals, the Tennessee Court of Civil Appeals, the U.S. Court of Appeals, 5th and 6th Circuit, and the U.S. Supreme Court. Mark graduated from Lambeth College with a Bachelor of Science degree and received his Juris Doctorate from the University of Mississippi School of Law in 1984. Mark is a former Assistant District Attorney for the 4th Judicial District of Louisiana and has been defending criminal cases for several years. He has been selected to become a life member of the United States 6th Circuit Judicial Conference at the invitation of the United States District Judge James Todd. Please give a warm McNairy Central welcome to our keynote speaker, Mark Donahoe.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike, for a great introduction. I don't think I've been this nervous since I tried my first try. So we'll see if we can't get through this. It's a tremendous pleasure and honor for me to be here. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Since Jeff called on behalf of the committee and asked me to come do it, I've been really excited about it to help celebrate such a deserving group in their admission here tonight. It's just an honor. I was able to see all these people play, and it's just been a tremendous thing. And especially Mr. Webb, he was real special to us. He coached us for a long time. We played a lot of games and had a lot of interesting things. I'm going to try to tell you some stories. Tim Dancer and Brian, Bo Whitaker's here. We all played for him, and we talked a little bit before I started, so we got a couple we're going to share with you. And the 74 team that we're honoring tonight got to sit in the stands and see those games and see that run to the state title game. It was outstanding. It's hard to believe, we got to talk about this with my mom on the way over here. 41 years ago is when I first walked through these doors as a freshman. It's hard to believe. Jerry Light was just starting as a coach, same time. The memories and the experiences we created just turned out to be the most influential of anything that I've ever experienced. Part of my education here revolves around sports. First of all, got fortunate enough to play basketball and baseball. I got a special connection to the 73-74 women's team. Let me tell you about it. Sitting in class one day, Coach Skelton at the time, he comes in and he says, "Hey, I want you to come in." They were getting ready to start the tournament play. So I want you to come in. We're going to let you drill against the girls. Well, let me tell you something. Girls play dirty. Marilyn Gilchrist has got the pointiest elbows of anybody in the state. I think she went home at night and sharpened. We got in there, it was so funny. You got a couple of us go in and drill with them, trying to get them ready for the tournament. And Marilyn would catch it, coming across the line, she'd catch it, poof, in it'd go. Come across the other direction, she'd catch it, poof, in it'd go. Well, after a while, I got to trying to block it. And I was a little taller than she was. I could jump good. You know, I thought. So I was intentionally letting her catch it just to see if I could get to it. And after she scored about 45 in a row, I quit. But it was a lot of fun, and it was really fun to watch him play. I'll never forget sitting in the stands and going to the Coliseum in Jackson when the state tournament was that year, and watching him play all the way through. And just for a couple of breaks, right at the end of that last game, we'd brought the big trophy home. Played a little basketball. We were a big class back then. We were AAA class, only 3 classes at that time in Tennessee, and we had 278 in our graduating class. Brian, how many? Is that right? Somewhere around there. So we were a AAA. We were just big enough. The school was just big enough to get in the AAA class. So we're playing all 2,500 students. groups and people and Lord, our district was huge. We played at Dyersburg, Henry County, Ripley, Hardin County. It was huge. We traveled all the time everywhere we went. And we didn't have any business playing in that class, I can tell you right now. We had one guy over 6 feet. Randy Rosen and I, and Brian, was the next tallest people on the team, except for Barry Sims. Barry was about 6'3", and Barry could jump about 3 inches. But Barry figured out how to get, it was amazing. He got every tip. Now, we used to tip it off at every quarter when we played. You didn't swap like you did today. We tipped it off at every quarter. Well, Barry did it every time. Well, about 4 or 5 games into it, we got to watching him, trying to figure out how he was getting to the ball. Well, we only had 2 officials in. We didn't have 3. So one of the officials was throwing the ball up. He's watching in. The other one's watching the lane that we were, to make sure you didn't get in the circle. Well, what Barry was doing, as the ball would go up, he's grabbing the other guy on the shoulder and tipping it with this hand. We got them all. They never did figure it out. Didn't call it the whole year. Not one time. We beat a bunch of people we weren't supposed to beat. And it was because of our teaching. Because we wanted it more than anybody else wanted it. I'll never forget a game we went up to Henry County. And we came out to play. We hadn't seen them before. We came out to warm up, and every player they got is bigger than Barry. They're all, we come out and line up, we're playing 1-3-1 zone. Brian's on the point, I'm on the back. Well, Brian's job is to keep the ball from changing sides real quick, because I can't get from one side to the other that fast. Well, sure enough, that's the one time Barry didn't get the tip all year long. One time that guy jumped. Sure enough, they come down, very first pass, right over his head, because they're all 6'5" or bigger. Goes from him, went to another guy, went down on the baseline. Guy on the baseline starts in, he starts for the goal. Well, I come across the lane and set up, and back then, with our team, if you try to drive down the lane, you run over 3 or 4 people before you get to the goal. And I set up to take the charge on the baseline, and he left the ground right at the beginning of the right at the free throw area, where the key is. He left the ground right there, and as he passed by me, kind of scissored by me, and dunked it over his head, bang, like that. The crowd went crazy and went back down. They're back down there set up. This might be a long night. Well, turned out we made some. We played them close, played them real tight. Coach did some interesting stuff. He would throw a press on at the right time and take it off at the right time. We'd get it a couple of times and score, and then he'd take it back off. And we had it tied with 8 seconds to play. And Brian got loose on the baseline on the left side, threw a high one up off the board. Drake went right in. We beat him at the buzzer. Didn't have any business being in the same stadium with those people. But it came from our training here. Not just from the coaching, but from the teaching, from the teachers here, and just the fact that we didn't know we couldn't beat everybody. We didn't know that. I learned a lesson between my junior and senior year that has helped me tremendously over the years. We played all through my junior year, played all the games and stuff like that. And well, that summer I I didn't exactly work real hard as I should have. I didn't come in ready to play. Didn't come in ready to do anything, and didn't take Coach long to figure that out. Back then, Coach Wooden was, how do I say it, difficult. We did a lot of training because we were so small. We ran all the time. We did a lot of extra work after practice, and I didn't work real hard. And I spent a lot of time on the bench in the middle of the year, and I didn't like that too much. And one day in practice, I decided, you know, if I'm going to make anything, do anything, I'm going to give it a full effort. And I had been doing it. So I was playing with the second team at the time, and playing in a post position that I didn't usually play. I usually played on the perimeter. And I decided that day we were going to do that. I got to working real hard, and eventually I worked myself back into the lineup, playing in a post position that I'd never played it before. And it was all different. It was completely different. It gave us a different look. We went to Dyersburg, another team we didn't have any business playing with, and just absolutely ran them completely out of their gym up there, and beat them again in the district same way. But I learned that lesson. If you didn't work, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you weren't going to get anywhere. And you sure weren't going to do it. Now every time I prepare, get a trial ready, or begin to start prepping for a trial, you know, I remember that. I remember that not everybody, my team, my teammates, the school, deserve my best effort. And I know my clients do now. Now let's talk a little baseball. Now, honored to be a member of that team, which at the time, now I'm quoting from Mr. Webb in the yearbook, so this is official word. At the time, the best team he'd ever coached. Now I know there's been some better ones after that, but at the time, in '77, the best team he'd ever coached. Had a lot of personality, I guess is a good way to say that. There were some characters on that team. A lot of them are here. Bo, as I mentioned before, Tim Dancer, Brian, Dale Smith, who's not with us, but Dale pitched, and it wouldn't be really fair. We wouldn't have gotten where we got without him. He threw Dale was the kind of guy. He couldn't break the window out of that door over there with the baseball. But everything he threw moved all over the place. And he just confounded people over and over and over again. Now I have to say, I'm a little surprised Mr. Webb is here tonight. Because back in 1977, we thought we'd killed him. Literally killed him. I'm taking bat practice one day. And they're throwing bat practice. And Mr. Webb, he's watching the field, watching the fielders. And he keeps inching in on the first base line. And he's about a third of the way down the first base line, kind of inching in, watching one of the fielders, and he's working with one of them. All of a sudden, I get one right off the end of the bat. And it catches him right here. And he goes down like a sack of potatoes. And I thought, of course none of us knew what to do. We all went over and looking at him going, is he dead?
You're all clapping.
So, you know, it was in a little while. We finally got him. He finally got moving again. Got to get around, and I thought, oh man, we killed the coach here. What do we do now? Mr. Webb oversaw some revolutionary changes in training and facilities here at the school. Baseball field used to be the football practice field. It didn't have the nice outfield wall it had now. It used to be a chain link fence that went out like the old polo grounds that the Yankees played on. It went out into a corner out in center field. It was 455 yards from home plate, or feet, 455 feet from home plate. Needless to say, wasn't too many home runs hit in that field. But, and we had wooden bats. And we used to hide them. Because every time you get used to one, or you find one that you really like real good, Bo would get up and practice and break it. And then we'd go looking for another one. So we used to get the wooden ones and hide them. Well, Mr. Webb came in one day, he had a solution to that. He showed up with some aluminum bats. First aluminum bats I ever saw. Of course, it's all we use now. But we hated them. Of course, we weren't smart enough to know that if we used them, we probably had a 50-point higher bat average at the time. But we just didn't like them because they were aluminum, and we didn't want to get away from our wooden bats. Oh, and then here comes the pitching machine. Now, there was no such thing as radar didn't have any. Police didn't have any back then. So we got a pitching machine. It's the old Judge machine. It had two wheels on it. Looked like a little rubber tire. You drop the ball down in between them. Cool fit. Did shoot it out. We got it all wired up out there one day. Mr. Webb's out on the field with it. He got it all tuned up out there. We're all standing around trying to figure out what's going on. Of course, we don't know how hard pitchers are throwing. We have no idea what the speeds are that we're seeing in school or anything else. We don't know how fast they're throwing. So we're guessing. So we set the wheels. We said, well, 80 miles an hour. Let's put it at that. So we set the wheels at 80 miles an hour. Mr. Webb says, I was a catcher. So he says, hey, go catch these and throw them back so we don't get them scattered everywhere. So, okay. So I get my mitt. I don't put any equipment on. Just get the mitt, get back behind the plate. He says, okay, here it comes. Poof, drops in a ball. And out comes an 80-mile-an-hour knuckleball. Because the wheels are spinning at the same speed. And it's going all over the place. And I'm diving out of the way like, I was just trying to, It was so funny. Again, we didn't know how fast it needed to be throwing. Well, it turns out Major League pitchers throw at 65 miles an hour at knuckleballs. And here comes one at me at 80. Going crazy. So, after a few, and that really helped us, after a few weeks hitting at 80 miles an hour, we didn't see anybody, say maybe two guys, one left-handed pitcher at Ripley and one at Hardin County, that could throw anywhere near that. So we wore out some pitchers after that. It was a lot of fun, but it was an experience getting it all ready to go the first time. And let me tell you, this group was, best way I can say it, I showed a picture of the team to one of my law partners. And this is what came out of his mouth, and it makes world sense. He said, that looks like the Bad News Bears. Now imagine this, down here we've got 7 or 8 seniors on the team. We didn't have the budget, and we didn't have the support groups that are popular now. We didn't have a baseball club or anything like that to help us out funding-wise. So we had to kind of borrow stuff from years past in order to get through the year. Well, we had 3 different sets of uniforms to make up one. We had some that had just an M on the shirt. Then we had some that said McNairy. Then we had some hats that had big M on them. Then we had some that had a little M on them. And we were kind of all mixed up. It was a hodgepodge. Well, some of the McNairy, the ones that said McNairy, every one of them had a letter coming off of them. And I'll never forget, we showed up in Memphis to play in the regional tournament. And we're playing at Halley Legion Field. It's over off Mount Moriah in Memphis. And this beautiful, huge stadium. We'd never seen anything like it. We thought we were in Major League. We get off the school bus, the yellow school bus, or start to get off of it. Another team's already there, the team from Memphis. And they've rolled up in their nice, big, blue bus from their school. And they're all standing out there. We start to get off the bus. And Bo's hair looks a little bit different than it did then than it does now. It caught him about right here, as a matter of fact, on both sides. And then William Cox, our first baseman, his was curly, and it was so big he couldn't get his hat on. He just sat up on top of his head. And every time we would play at first base, he lost his hat. We had to stop. We had to take time out after every play at first base so William could find his hat because it fell off. Because it never was on his head. So we start climbing off the bus. And it looks like the Bad News Bears. It really does. We're kind of clanging along and running here, running there. Well, the other bunch from Memphis gets to laughing. They get to laughing at us. Pointing and laughing, going, what is this? Come on. What's the deal? Well, 3-0 later, after 7 innings, we're all smiling, waving at them. Good to see y'all. See you next year. Pretty fun. But it was a fun group that, and we wore steel cleats. Plastic pretty much is common today. We wore steel cleats. Tim and them would get them. They'd get everybody and get them back in the shop class and sharpen them all. And if you got a foot too far out on the base, if we were rounded the base, you got a foot in the way, it liable to get stepped on. That happened a couple of times, as a matter of fact. Brian got on one over Hardin County one day and cleared the benches. And when we threw with people, not like it is today, that's part of the game when we play. You just, whoever was up first in the next inning better be ducking whoever side they were coming up on. But it was a great time. We had a great time when we played. It was fun. But let me tell you, the most important thing that we learned was leadership. I remember one of the things that sticks with me is we played in Memphis and the region again on the day of graduation. And we had 7 or 8 players that were seniors on that team. And Mr. Webb, he was prepared for that. We didn't think anything about it. We just thought, well, we'll get on the bus, we'll get back in time, maybe we'll be a little late or whatever. Well, the game drug on a little bit, it kind of drug on. It turns out Mr. Webb was ready for us. He had a station wagon back then, and he brought the station wagon to the game. So the game's over with, we're throwing stuff everywhere, all we can go, hop in the station wagon. He's driving, 7 of us, we're all piled in there like little cans of sardines. Here we go on the way back. But we're passing tractors and whatever else is on the road and stuff like that. Come wheeling up on 2 wheels to the school here. The line's going out the door of the football facility to go out on the football field for graduation. We're running around in the bathroom, throwing stuff off, throwing on the gown, put the hat on, and hop into the line, walking out the door to get back for graduation. And Mr. Webb made that happen. We didn't forget that. All that helped me a lot, especially when I went to law school. First day, we go to the administration, and here's what they tell us. They say, look to your left, look to your right. Now, at the end of this year, one of those people is going to be gone. Whoa. Reality sets in. It was tough. It was hard. But the training we had, the training I had, it helped us get through that. Nothing was like the first exam. Now, law school is a little bit different from college and high school where you have tests all along. Law school, you have one test at the end of the year. 4 months of material, you're tested on that. Whatever you make on that test is graduating the class. Pretty high pressure. First test I took in law school. Professor hands it out. It's his first time to ever teach a law school class. He hands it out, it's 36 pages long. I'm supposed to finish 36 pages, 8 of which were essay questions in 4 hours. And you could feel the panic setting over the room as it happened. You could feel it. And I have to tell you, what I did was I closed my eyes. And I went through mentally what I used to go through in the pre-shot routine when I was shooting free shot. And I went through mentally my pre-routine when I step into the back box. And I relaxed and finished that exam. No problem. Maybe. And I honestly think, had I not had the training that I had and the experiences that I had, that wouldn't happen. I really do. Many, many, many times I look back, wished I could have frozen time. Somebody should have told us at the time, and maybe somebody did, and maybe we should have listened better. Day in and day out at that time of our lives when we were young, we were having more fun than we were ever going to have. Again. The other thing we didn't realize is that we were getting the knowledge and the foundation that we needed to carry us the rest of our lives. But we weren't. As I want to say thanks to all the teachers, coaches, and most of all to this fine institution for the culture of success, for teaching a country farm boy from Mickey that the sky's the limit. Just reach for it. Thank you.
Wow. I told you you were in for a treat, didn't I? Thank you, Mark. All right, let's give him another round of applause. Our first order of business tonight is to recognize the 1974 McNairy Central girls basketball team. The 1974 Lady Bobcats set the bar high, as their 29 wins still stand as the most wins by any girls basketball team at McNairy Central High School. The 74 Lady Bobcat team lost their first game of the season to Tresvant, then reeled off 23 straight wins before losing to JCM the district championship. The Lady Bobcats went on to win the regional tournament and advanced to the state tournament that was played in Jackson. The Lady Bobcats won the first game and then drew Bradley County, a team that had won 77 games in a row with 3 straight state tournament crowns. The Lady Bobcats would beat Bradley County in double overtime to advance to the championship game. The Lady Bobcats put up a valiant effort but lost to Chevrolet, playing runner-up. I want to now ask that coach of the 1974 Lady Bobcats, Jimmy Lefty Skelton, to come and recognize this team. It's a special group of Lady Bobcats.
Well, it's an honor to be here. The girls the state runner-up in 1974. Great bunch. They had a lot of pride. They were the hardest working players I ever coached. They were the type that if I just handed them a practice schedule and left the gym, they would probably go through it and go through it with full speed. They had a lot of pride in what they did. I think out of the 15 that started, that dressed, 11 of them was on the honor roll. So they worked hard at basketball. They worked hard in their studies. A lot of them went on to college. A lot of them went on and played college ball, got degrees. They've been family people. Well, a lot of them I see quite often. Some of them I don't see very often. But it was a real thrill to coach these girls. Now, I don't know how many of them were able to make it tonight, but I have a list here. And I think Belinda.
Yeah, we're going to ask Mike Kane to come up as well. Mike was assistant coach on that team, and we're going to give all the players a certificate.
All right.
Am I supposed to read these without my glasses? Hard I agree. See, I didn't go to school out here. You want me to read these off? Is that what we want?
Well, I guess Belinda Brown is the first one on the list.
Belinda Brown Shelton.
we used to argue like this in practice too.
But only with you. Jan Gilbert Washburn. I don't believe Jan's here. Kathy Johnson Weatherford. Pam Reinhardt Wheeler. I don't believe Pam's here. Cheryl Henley Irvin. And the only one with 4 names, Laura Jean Beck Gowan. I don't think Laura Jean's here. Kathy Moore Finlayson.
Is Virginia Mills here?
Oh, Robert.
I was so short.
I'm glad you said that. Liz Lambert Gray. What were you doing hiding?
I was hiding.
Lisa Kinchin Thompson. Yeah, probably still on golf for me. Marilyn Gilchrist Kildow. Is that right? Rosie Baxter. Oh, Rosie. Yvette Baldridge Dammer. Got the old man back there too? Good. Hey, Bob. Cassandra Atkins. Donna Avery Wright. Lola Watt Doyle. They heard you were coming. Stephanie Ash Brown. No Steph? Carol Bryan Kennedy. Angie Baker Burchett. They heard I was coming. Anita Smith. Does that look like it?
Let's give another round